Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala ibadihi allazina istafa khususan ala afdalihim wa khatamin nabiyyin Muhammadin al-amin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du faqad qala Allahu tabaraka wa ta'ala kama warada fi surati al-Hujurat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلتكم من أعمالكم شيئا إن الله غفور رحيم إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله أولئك هم الصادقون. وقال عز وجل كما ورد في سورة الصف يا أيها الذين آمنوا هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم ربنا ألهمنا رشدنا واعصمنا من شرور أنفسنا. اللهم ربنا نور قلوبنا بالإيمان واشرح صدورنا للإسلام ووفقنا أن نجاهد في سبيلك بأموالنا وأنفسنا وارزقنا شهادة في سبيلك. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Before proceeding further to a discussion regarding the relationship between Iman and Jihad fi Sabilillah and the relationship between Iman and Aman, that is the inner peace and tranquility of man, let us review the previous lesson in another way. That is the relationship and the difference between Iman and Islam, which is a very important and tricky subject, and it's the irony of fate, it has been equally ignored. Now I have to make 5 points today. First of all, Iman and Islam, and Mu'min and Muslim. These words are mostly used in the Quran as synonyms, having the same meanings. Why? Because Iman is within the heart, Islam is the external manifestation of that Iman. Now in a normal person, normal and healthy person, if both these things are present, Iman within, Islam in the external behavior, then you may call him Mu'min or Muslim, it makes no difference. Call the rose by any name, it will smell as sweet. So mostly these two words are used as synonyms. Point number 2. Nevertheless, there is a difference between Islam and Iman. And let me make 2 points here. What are the proofs? What are the arguments? That they have different connotations. Number 1 is the general principle that no two words of a language can have the exactly same connotation. The words are coined on the basis of some need to express something. They may be very close to each other, they may be very similar to each other, but they cannot have exactly the same connotation. There can be no example in any two words of a language, any language. This is the general principle. And secondly, we have the proof from the Quran, because in the ayah number 14 of Surah Al-Hujurat, which I have just recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rejecting the claim of Iman of the Bedouins, some of the Bedouins, but accepting them as Muslims. قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. These Bedouins are claiming that they have come to believe. Tell them, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you have not at all come to believe. Don't be mistaken. You have not become Mu'mins. All you may say is that you have become Muslims. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. You know, to emphasize more, till this time, Iman has not entered your hearts. So, rejecting the claim to be Mu'min, accepting them to be Muslims, what does it mean? That they have some different connotations. Now let me add here, there are two other pairs of Islamic terms which have the same, relationship. And this relationship, our ulama have denoted by the words am and khas. Something general and something particular. Islam is am. Iman is khas. What does it mean? Every Mu'min must necessarily be a Muslim. But every Muslim is not necessarily a Mu'min. Is it clear? The same is the relationship between Nabi and Rasul. Nabi is am, general. Rasul is particular, khas. What does it mean? Every Rasul was a Nabi also, necessarily. But every Nabi was not a Rasul. The same relationship exists between jihad and qital. Jihad fi sabilillah, qital fi sabilillah. Jihad fi sabilillah is general. Qital fi sabilillah is particular. Qital is jihad fi sabilillah, but every jihad is not qital fi sabilillah. And let me quote here, for those who want more understanding and knowledge, there is a principle, a formula coined by some of our, ulama. إِذَا تَفَرَّقَا اجْتَمَعَا وَإِذَا اجْتَمَعَا تَفَرَّقَا. The two words of these three pairs, when they are used separately, they have the same meaning. But when they come at one place, they have different meanings. Iman and Islam being used in the Quran in different places, Mu'min and Muslim, they will have the same meanings. But here we find قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. At one place both have been mentioned. Here تفرقا, they are different. Point number 3. To have a very clear idea of what is the difference between Islam and Iman, you just imagine, Iman, divide it into two parts. Number 1, legal Iman, here real Islam. This legal Islam based on Shahada, Iqrar Bil-Lisan, verbal attestation. This real Iman is the Tasdeeq Bil-Qalb, that is the yaqeen fil qalb, that is the conviction in the heart. At the level of legal Iman Iman and Amal are separate entities. At the level of real Iman, they become one organic whole. Amal becomes integral part of Iman. This legal Iman is the basis of Islam, and it becomes the basis of the legal structure of Islam, the social order of Islam, the constitution of a Muslim state. But all these three things are in this world. This Islam, our legal Iman, is creditable only in this world. And on the day of judgment and in the hereafter, the real Iman, judgments will be accordingly and based on the real Iman. Only the real Iman will be creditable. It might be more, it might be less. That's a different question. That's the quantitative side of this issue. But there must be essentially this real Iman in the heart. If, now what is the corollary? Maybe there's a person who is acknowledged in this world as a Muslim, rather the greatest leader of the Muslims. But maybe on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He sees to the hearts of the people. And if he doesn't have real Iman, this legal status of his in this world, being the leader of the Muslims, will be of no use on the day of judgment. Will give him no credit on the day of judgment. If the heart was devoid of the real Iman, he will be thrown in the fire of hell. So these, you can tabulate these things, and one by one. And as I told, at this legal Iman level, whatever Imam Abu Hanifa has said is 100% correct. And at the level of real Iman, whatever Imam Bukhari rahimahullah has said is 100% correct. Now let me come to the fourth point. Because I told you this is very important, very tricky subject, and equally ignored. Now imagine there is a circle, a small circle. Then outside that small circle there is a bigger circle. Two concentric circles, one small, the other large. This inner circle, small circle, indicates Iman. The outer circle, it indicates Islam. And beyond this circle, it's kufr. So you have now three. The inner circle, Iman. Outer circle, Islam. And then beyond that, kufr. Now what is the position of Khawarij that I told you? If any Muslim commits a major sin, he is out of the circle of Iman, out of the circle of Islam, he plunges into kufr directly. Gone. Biggest mistake, biggest blunder, made in the very early days of Islam. The Khawarij started in the days of the Caliphate of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala. The biggest blunder. What is the position of the Mu'tazila and Ahl Tashayyuh? If somebody commits a major sin, he is out of Iman, out of Islam, but doesn't go to kufr. He is somewhere in between. Not acceptable. There is no man's land between Iman and kufr, between Islam and kufr. The illogical stand. Now the stand of the fuqaha and muhaddithin, as I explained yesterday, that's very similar to each other, very close to each other. And it is correct. Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, both. If you compare, there is some difference of interpretation But basically they are both correct. But to a common man today, it becomes very difficult to understand. The easiest way to understand is that if a person commits a major sin, or a sin for that matter, please take these children away. I told you in the very first day. I'm stopping here. I can't. I was saying that although the positions of the muhaddisin and fuqaha are very close to each other, and both are correct, but it becomes quite difficult to understand. The easiest way to understand is that whosoever commits a sin goes out of the circle of Iman, but remains within the circle of Islam. He is not kafir. Even this sin may be major. Kabair. He remains a Muslim. Now it's absolutely clear. And there is a hadith. I couldn't find, the reference today because I don't have all the books here with me. The hadith says, this is the essence of the hadith, that when a Muslim commits a sin, Iman gets out of his heart. But it keeps encircling over his head like a bird flying round. Keeps encircling. If he repents, if he makes tawbah, it returns. Again enters the heart. If he doesn't, it goes away. But what goes away is the real Iman of the heart, not the legal Iman of Islam. He was a Muslim before committing the sin. He was a Muslim during the commitment of that sin. And he remains a Muslim even after the commitment of that sin. Legally he remains a Muslim. It makes the things very easy. And all the ahadith, now they stand explained very easily. La yazni zani hina yazni wa huwa mu'minun. Yes, he is not mu'min at his heart, but he is a Muslim. وَلَا يَسْرِقُ السَّارِقُ هِينَ يَسْرِقُ وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. When he is committing theft, he is not a mu'min at that time. The real Iman has gone out, but he remains a Muslim. You may cut his hands, but he remains a Muslim. If he committed zina, adultery, if he was married, you stone him to death, but he remains a Muslim. You will have to pray for his funeral. So the ahadith, are absolutely clear, and there is no controversy, because legally he remains a Muslim. The final point now regarding this issue, and that is another way, of expressing these things. Now you imagine there is, basic division, legal division between men, human beings in this world, legal level, only two type of men and women. Either he or she is a Muslim, or he or she is a non-Muslim. At legal level, there is no third entity. Either Muslim or non-Muslim. No third entity. But now, one who is a Muslim legally, he can have three conditions internally. Either he has positively Iman, or he has negatively nifaq. Either he is a mu'min or a munafiq. And there is a 0 point also between the plus values and the minus values. He might be only a Muslim without Iman, neither a mu'min nor a munafiq. This is very important. You can, in the graph, you have in the center 0. To the right you go to +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, and you go to plus infinity. These are the plus values of Iman. Plus 1, 2, plus infinity. The Iman of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was infinite. To the left side you have minus values, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus infinity. These are the values of nifaq. A man might have nifaq, but very little nifaq. But he can be the Raisul Munafiqeen, Abdullah ibn Ubay. Alayhi ma alayhi. But in between the two, always, between the plus and the minus values, there is a 0 point. Neither Iman nor Nifaq. And that is actually the position in the ayah number 14 of Surah Al-Hujurat. قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلدكم من أعمالكم شيئا. These Bedouins are claiming that they have become Mu'min. Tell them, O Muhammad, you have not at all become Mu'min, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. All you can say, you are Muslims. But if you continue obeying Allah and His Messenger, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not deprive you of the rewards of your deeds. Now we know that the munafiq cannot be given reward of any of his deeds. What does it mean? They are not munafiqeen. This ayah is very important as well as very difficult. Some of our mufassirin have said that they are munafiq. Some say no, they were not munafiq. Only they had just entered Islam and Iman had not as yet entered their heart, but they were not munafiq. I agree with them, and let me quote here Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, because I agree with him 100%. And he says in his Kitabul Iman, وَقَدْ أَثْبَتَ اللَّهُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ إِسْلَامًا بِلَا إِيمَانٍ بِقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى قَالَتِ الْأَعْرَابُ آمَنَّا قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا إِلَى آخِرِ الْآيَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has acknowledged Islam without Iman in this ayah. So it is very important, because some of more zealous and emotional type of Muslims, they tend to say, they tend to believe that because today most of the Muslims don't have real Iman, and it is 100% correct. Because Quran says, Antumul a'launa in kuntum mu'minin. You will dominate. You will be supreme if you are mu'min, and we are not dominating. We are put to extreme humiliation. So we are not mu'mins. 2 and 2 go to make 4. There's no other possibility. We are not mu'mins. Maybe there are some 0.001% mu'minin. Actually, the most of the Muslims of today are not mu'mins. But don't think they are munafiqeen. Some people tend to believe and they say it, they are all munafiq. No. Most of the Muslims are not munafiqas. They are neither mu'mins nor munafiqs. But in between we are standing, most of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the positive Iman. But most of the Muslims today, they are at the 0 level. They are at the same level as those Bedouins of the days of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about whom Allah said, قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلدكم من أعمالكم شيئا إن الله غفور رحيم. Allah is Ghafoor, and He is Rahim. He is forgiving, the forgiving and the merciful. It's out of His forgiveness and His mercy that He accepts your Islam without Iman also. But if you continue obeying, but there is a warning also. This obedience has to be total, not partial. Partial obedience is no obedience at all. It's rather the mockery of obedience. You obey one order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and disobey the other. What does it mean? The command which you are obeying and complying with, it is because your nafs, has accepted it. And the command that you are rejecting and disobeying, why? Because your nafs doesn't agree to it. In both ways you are accepting and obeying your nafs, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are obeying Allah, then you have to obey all of His commands. And there is a very stern warning in the Quran. أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضٍ. Do you accept part of our book, our law, our sharia, and reject the other part? فَمَا جَزَاءُ مَنْ يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ مِنْكُمْ إِلَّا خِزْيٌ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. There can be no punishment for those who take to this attitude of accepting a part of the book of Allah, part of the sharia, rejecting the other part. إِلَّا خِزْيٌ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Except that they should be put to extreme humiliation in this world. وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يُرَدُّونَ إِلَىٰ أَشَدِّ الْعَذَابِ. And on the day of judgment, they will be thrown in the worst of the punishments. وَمَا اللَّهُ بِغَافِلٍ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not unawares of what you are doing. Don't think you can deceive Him. So the obedience has to be total. No partial obedience, please. This much about, the difference between Islam and Iman. Now we come to the 8th topic of our discussion on this Iman. And that is the relationship between Iman and Jihad. I am referring to the same 2 ayat of Surah Al-Hujurat. In ayah number 14, which we have now discussed fully, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a clear distinction, differentiation between Muslim and Mu'min. Naturally, logically, there appears a question in the mind, and who is a true Mu'min? We want to be true Mu'mins. We want to be accepted true Mu'mins on the day of judgment. We should be told, who is a true Mu'min? What's the comprehensive definition of a Mu'min? So this is the logical sequence in Quran. The next ayah number 15, gives a comprehensive definition of who is a Mu'min. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. Now a comprehensive definition of something should be which includes all the necessary parts of that thing or that concept and exclude everything else. This we call in mantiq, in logic, jami' and mani'. It should collect all the necessary elements of that concept. But it should not let any foreign element come into it. Mani'. Mana yamna, do you know? To keep it away. So this ayah is the most comprehensive definition of who is a mu'min. That is why it is starting with innama. It is kalimatul hasr. What's the difference? When you say Zaid is a knowledgeable person, and you say Zaid is the only knowledgeable person, you know the difference? Zaid alim hai in Urdu, and Zaid he alim hai. This is hasr. In the first sentence, we say Zaid is alim, and others can be alim also. But now when you added the word he, you excluded any other person. None else is alim. So innama is hasr. Ulaika humus sadiqun. Only they are the truthful. Only they are true. If they claim that they are mu'min. Again hasr. The mu'mins are only those. And only they are the truthful. The ayah is ending and beginning with hasr. Innamal mu'minuna allazina amanu billahi wa rasulihi summa lam yartabu وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. The true mu'mins are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger and then doubt not. This Iman has reached the level of conviction, free from all doubts. That is the real Iman within the heart, the conviction. And then the second necessary prerequisite, pre-qualification for a mu'min is وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And then they made jihad for the cause of Allah, in the way of Allah, with their lives, bodies and belongings. What does it mean? Jihad fi sabilillah is a necessary condition, integral part of Iman. And let me say, no jihad, no Iman. No Iman, no jihad. It goes both ways. If there is real Iman, there will be jihad. And the only thing that can prove from the action side that the person has Iman, real Iman, is jihad. So these are the two necessary pillars of Iman. Now, let me give another example. I narrated the ayat, two ayat again from Surah As-Saff, number 10 and 11. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min azabin alim. O you who believe, or O you who profess to believe, the legal Iman. The people who are being addressed are those who have legal Iman. They are Muslims. Hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min azabin alim. Should I lead you, should I tell you the bargain which will save you from the severe punishment, the painful punishment, meaning thereby the punishment of hell, the fire of hell in the hereafter. Please again understand the question. It's a very natural way of education. Ask question, so that the minds are alive. They become attentive. The minds start working themselves. And then you give the reply. It's a very natural way of education. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min azabin alim. Oh, who you profess to believe, should I lead you, should I tell you the bargain, the trade? A very simple word is used here, because you know in every trade, every business, you have two necessary elements, investment and work, labor. There can be no trade no industry, nothing without these two necessary elements. And they will be reflected in the answer also. Should I lead you, should I tell you the trade or the bargain which will save you from the severe punishment? تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Have real faith. Now you have to add the word real, because people who were addressed were also Mu'mins. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. That proves who were addressed were the legal Mu'mins, the Muslims. And now they are being asked to have real faith, real Iman. تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَتُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ. And you make jihad in the way of Allah, for the cause of Allah, with your money, your wealth, your belongings, and your own body, your nafs, your own lives. The same two things which are necessary for any worldly profession, worldly trade, worldly business. Capital, money, small or big. Then labor, work, the skilled labor, the unskilled labor. But these two things only can go to make some business, some bargain. You can earn something here. The same way, if you want to be saved from the punishment of the fire of hell in the hereafter, you have to invest your money, your wealth, your belongings, your bodily capabilities, your intelligence, your capability of working, and if there is necessary, even giving away your life for the cause of jihad fi sabilillah. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. This is better for you. At the face of it, it appears to be a bargain entailing loss. Why? You have to give away everything here, and the price you are going to get in the hereafter, not here. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُم بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has purchased from all the Mu'mins their lives as well as their belongings in exchange for Jannah. And Jannah you will have in the hereafter, not here. And you have to spend everything here. Your energies, your time, your money, your capital, your belongings. And if there is need, even your life. But if you have the real knowledge, then you will know that this is good for you, this is profitable, this is beneficial. Now what's the inevitable logical conclusion? You cannot hope of salvation, you cannot hope to be spared from the fire of hell without jihad fi sabilillah. Such an important thing. And in the same way, as we have ignored, the subject of Iman, we have also ignored what is jihad. There are very great misconceptions about jihad. I propose to have 2 full sessions on this subject. The meaning of jihad and the stages of jihad. In the same way as I am speaking about Iman, what is the literal meaning of the word jihad? What's the technical definition of jihad? What are the stages of jihad? What are the preconditions and prerequisites of every stage of jihad? So we'll be speaking, inshallah, about all these things in the next week. But suffice here to say, in brief, here also, in this discussion of Iman, I want to include, a little portion of that. To be very brief, what is jihad? Jihad means struggle for some cause against the obstacles and obstructions and the opposing forces. You have a cause before you. You want to accomplish it, proceed towards it. There are obstacles, hindrances, obstructions, opposing forces, resistance. To struggle against these obstructions, obstacles, against this resistance, against these opposing forces, this is jihad. Now, we are talking about the real Iman now, not the Iman, the verbal attestation we all have already. That we had due to our birth. We were born of Muslim parents, so we are Muslims. Now you visualize real Iman when it enters the heart of a person and is established there. Immediately a conflict and a confrontation starts within his own personality. What is it? Now in the heart you have Iman. What does it mean? You believe in the existence of Allah. You believe He is seeing you. You are in His eyes. You can't hide from Him. You believe you have to return to Him one day. You believe you will have to present your account of whatever you have done here. You believe there is going to be reward, either good reward or punishment. There will be no place to run away, no corner to hide, nothing of the sort, no power to protect. And then you know this is halal and this is haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have accepted all His commands. وَقَبِلْتُ جَمِيعَ أَحْكَامِهِ آمنت باللہ کما ہوا بأسمائہ وصفاتہ وقبلت جمیع احکامہ. This is in the heart. And now from the lower levels of your existence and your personality, there are coming storms, cyclones, or what? In the words of Freud, the id and libido. In the words of Quran, the nafs ammara, inna nafsa la'ammaratun bis-su. The animal instincts. What are the basic animal instincts? Preservation of the self, preservation of the species. You need food. You have the sexual desire, the sexual urge. And all these animal instincts are blind. They don't know what is halal, what is haram. They want their sensual gratification, that's all. Satisfaction. We don't know what is halal, what is haram. This urge has to be satisfied. Then, added to these, there are the carnal desires and lusts. The sexual urge, in animals remains within certain limits. But in man, the limits to which it goes. Then the lust of wealth, the lust of power. In the words of Adler, the urge to dominate. These are the storms coming from the lower level of your existence. Because even Freud, he identified 3 levels of human personality. The id or libido, lowest. Then the ego, and then the superego. He is 100% correct about the id or libido. But he doesn't know about what is ego and what is superego. But I give him the credit that he identified 3 levels. This is a big achievement, no doubt. A person who is not seeing with the light of the Quran, even if he was able to observe these 3 levels, And he admitted there is a conflict between them. Ego wants to suppress these desires and lusts. And these desires and lusts want their full satisfaction and gratification. So this is the conflict between evil and good within your own personality. I don't see what is happening within you, and you don't see what is happening within me. But each one of us knows it is going on all the time. This conflict, this confrontation is going on and on. As Ghalib said, ईमा मुझे रोके है तो खींचे है मुझे कुफ्र, काबा मेरे पीछे है कलीसा मेरे आगे. I'm being torn. My personality is being torn. Opposite pulls. There is the pull of the divine spark, of the Ruh Rabbani. It wants us to go higher and higher up, seek the proximity and pleasure of Allah. And this id and libido, the carnal desires, and the animal instincts, they are pulling us down. So the first and the foremost jihad, as the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-mujahidu man jahada nafsahu. The real mujahid is he who can make jihad against his own nafs, control them. He was asked a question, direct question. Ayyul jihad afzalu ya Rasulullah. Which jihad is supreme, most important, afzal? The answer was, an tujahida nafsaka fi ta'atillah. Struggle against your id or libido, your animal instincts, your carnal desires, control them. As Quran says, amma man khafa maqama rabbihi wa nahan nafsa anil hawa. Whosoever fears, trembles at the very thought that he will have to stand before his Lord one day. He will be answerable, accountable. And then he pulls the reins of his nafs, his id and libido, controls it. I told you last evening, and I want to add one point to that. I told you, this real battle between evil and good is going on between the two levels of our own personality, within our own selves. Then there are abetting and helping agencies or forces, and some of these are invisible, some are visible. Invisible, the shayateen jinn, they excite your instincts, your id, your libido. Excite them. There are the angels. They support you. Go ahead. Do good deeds. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. Both these agencies, they are invisible, Malaika as well as the jinns. Shayatinul jinn, and then here are the Malaika. Then there are visible, human callers to the wrong path, the callers to the right path. People calling you to go astray. They are the shayatinul ins. That is why, in the last surah of the Quran, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ. The khannas and the shayateen, they are among the jinns also and among the men also. Then there are the callers who are calling you to the right path, the prophets. And you know, whosoever has taken upon himself the same mission that the prophets had, al-ulama warasatul anbiya. But if they are real alims, not businessmen in knowledge, not dealers in knowledge, not professional, real alim, they are the warasatul anbiya. They are doing the same mission. So keep this in mind. Real evil, real force of evil is within you. Abetting it is the shayatunil jinn from the invisible side, and people who are calling you to go astray at the human level also, visible. The real good is within you. That is your nafs al-lawwama. That's your ruh al-malakuti. That's your ruh rabbani, wa nafaqtu fihi bir-ruhi. And supporting it are the angels, the invisible ones. And again, among men you have people who support you, who help you, who show you the right path, who call you to the right path. Now coming to the jihad. After this Iman entered the heart and was established there, this conflict within the personality started. But this doesn't end there. Now you have a society around you. It has its own norms, its own values, its own traditions, its own pressures. If this society is a reformed Islamic society, there is not going to be any conflict. But if this society is on the wrong path, it has wrong values, so there is a conflict between you and the society around you, even your own relatives, closest relatives. That is why Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwwan lakum fahzaruhum. This is ayah number 14 of Surah At-Taghabun. O you who believe, be warned, be alert. From amongst your own wives and your own children, there are enemies for you. Because their natural love that you have in your heart, they can use that love, that instinct of yours, they can manipulate it as a lever to take you away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a red signal. Remember this ayah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwwan lakum fahzaruhum. There are enemies, hidden enemies. They think they love you and you love them. But there is a potential danger, beware of it. Then you have wrong ideologies, wrong philosophies, wrong aqaid. There must be a conflict. So jihad is going on. And last of all, over all politico-socio-economic system, if it is unjust, if it is repressive, if it is exploitative, if it is based on the principle of popular sovereignty, it means it is in revolt against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because sovereignty belongs to Him and Him alone. You have to fight it out. That would be the topmost level of jihad. So 4 jihads I have told you, beginning from within your personality and going up to the overall politico-socio-economic system prevailing in the land where you dwell, where you are living. You have to make jihad against your own id or libido, make jihad against the social pressures, make jihad against the wrong ideologies, wrong philosophies, wrong notions, wrong dogmas. You have to make jihad against the wrong, exploitative, repressive, suppressive, discriminative social, political order the political socio-economic system. So can there be a moment in the life of a mu'min without jihad? This jihad is going on all the time, every moment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the real concept of Iman and the real concept of jihad, and may He give us the courage to make real jihad in our lives. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.